At the stop sign, turn left onto Valley Way. In half a mile, the destination is on your right, Akadabi Missionary Baptist Church.
Take the path with me. Take the path with me. This is a path of history right here. This is the path of history. Like that's the site right there. Okay, it is. Let's get out and look at it. Let's get out and look at it. Hello, everybody. Today, this is an episode of fourth person point of view, but it's probably bigger than anything I've ever talked about. Behind me here is the late, great, honorable Mr. James Earl Chaney, born May 30th, 1943, and he died June 21st, 1964, along with Andrew Goodman and Michael Swarner. This is my second or third time visiting this place, and every time I pass through here, I make it a priority to come through and pay my respect. If you've ever seen the movie Mississippi Burning, this hero right here is one of the main characters in that movie. This ground that I'm on right here is so historic. So when I was driving up here, I could feel the energy still from this day. And the cemetery up the road has swamp area. I'm not saying that's the exact place, but it's where all the water runs to. So like I was saying, if you've ever watched the movie Mississippi Burning, Mr. James Earl Chaney is one of those characters. He was a civil rights activist, part of a group called CORE. I think he started as early as 1962 when he was helping with voter registration and all those things during a time when Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were very active, all type of civil rights activists. James Meredith from Jackson, Mississippi. So much was happening in America at that time. But Mr. James Earl Chaney, him and the two other civil rights workers were going to investigate a church bombing called Mount Zion. They were stopped by a sheriff named Sheriff Price, and they were arrested. They were not given a phone call, but they were later on released that night. So the sheriff and the posse got behind them. Then they were followed by the KKK. And that's when the three civil rights workers were murdered. So the case drew national attention. Some say if it would have been Mr. Chaney by himself, it would have not had drawn the same attention. But who knows? But I think it was like 44 days. The Department of Justice in the state of Mississippi ended up calling the FBI. The FBI got involved, and after paying $25,000 for the information, they were able to find the bodies of Andrew Goodman, Swarner, and James Earl Chaney. So a lot of the luxuries that we as black people and white Americans enjoy today, some of us take it for granted. It was paid for people like Mr. James Chaney. If you look on that tombstone behind me, he was a very young man when he was involved in the civil rights movement. And we're talking 1964. And if you followed the civil rights movement, 1964, you had freedom summer and so many things happening, not only in Mississippi, but across the world. If you can remember John F. Kennedy, his brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, so much was happening. But like I said, the story of James Earl Chaney took place in the movie Mississippi Burning. It was a great story. I think about myself being as young as he was. We always say what we would do, but we don't know what we would do. And for him to be such a young man in 1964, where during a time where you didn't have all the laws in place. I mean, you heard of the laws passed in 1964, but they were not really enforced the way they are today. So I just think about how brave that Mr. James Earl Chaney had to be to even get involved and participate. I can only imagine what he felt, because they did not just jump off the porch and get involved. A lot of these people, like Mr. Chaney, who were a part of a group CORE, C-O-R-E, they went through a lot of training. They went through a lot of training because they knew the price would be so great. And a lot of them paid with their lives. But the training, during the training, they went through a lot of insults. They were spit on. They poured milk on them, sugar, kicked them, beat them, pushed them, trying to prepare them for things that were far worse than anybody could prepare them for. So this right here, man, this is, if you ever coming through this area, I suggest you come by and pay your respect. I think we owe him. We owe him. Like just this land alone here. I can feel the energy here. I can to this day. And it's not this is a small country cemetery, if I may call it that. But it's just as honorable and respectful as the Lincoln Memorial. Seriously. The amount of weight that Mr. Chaney's burial site here has. Oh man, I'm almost speechless. I am. Even myself right here today in 2025, being in his grave site, I mean, words cannot express what we as a people, I mean Americans, owe this brave warrior behind me. There's no words, no monuments, no awards, no trophies that we can present to him for what he did. I mean, so when you talk about freedom, when you don't vote, when you take voting for granted, oh man, just think about Mr. Chaney here. Think about Mr. Chaney. and what he did it for. He was one of many. But like I said, it took a brave person to get involved in 1964 when he knew, when he was being trained to go out and help people register to vote. He knew when he went out and investigated that the burning of Mount Zion, he knew that he could possibly end up here. He knew it, but he still went and did it. Wrap your brain around that. Mr. James Earl Chaney knew that he could end up right here. But he didn't care. That was the price he was willing to pay. That's the price he was willing to pay to see black people vote. And the other two civil rights workers that were with him, Andrew Goodman and Swarner, forgive me because I can't say his name. I can't pronounce his name perfectly, but if Swarner was his last name, they were not black people. They were Americans. They were white. So we have to give them their respect as well. So if you ever pull those two names up, because they're not buried here. This is someone else and his family. But if you pull their names up and their graves are in an area that you're close to, I think one of them was from New York. Go pay your respect to them. It's the least you could do. It's the least you can do. So like I said, this is like the third time that I've been out here. This is the first time I think I've ever brought a camera out here. But every time I drive through here, I look at he's got a highway dedicated to him up here. And I try to stop by here just to pay my respect. And that shows you how much I respect this individual. Because I mean, being a young man, actually, I think all of them were like early 20s. I think the oldest one might have been 24. I think he was 21. Yeah. But these people were in their early 20s. So he was not frightened by the KKK. And the KKK was pretty active back then. The sheriff that arrested him was, I think, active Klan. And I think 21 people were arrested when the FBI came down and did their investigation and got the information. I think 21 people were arrested. Some of them ended up going to prison and some of them were acquitted. Go watch the movie Mississippi Burning. And it tells the story. And this is one of the heroes. And I say one because I don't want to take the credit from the other two civil rights workers and all the other people who were involved. I think Andrew Goodman, I think his wife was in Mississippi, and it might have been Swarner's wife, but one of the other civil rights workers' wife was in Mississippi at the time too. So it just showed you how involved she was, and so she became a widow. But I'm gonna quit running my mouth for a second, and I'm going to take a moment of silence. I'm gonna step out the way here and give a moment of silence to Mr. Chaney. And if you never been here or you plan on coming or you in another city and state, I mean, I guess you can use this as an opportunity for you to pay your respect to him. But I'm gonna stand out the way for a minute and just take a moment of silence, and you can pay your respect however you see fit. All right, I'm signing off. Next time you think that freedom is free, next time you take your voting rights for granted, remember, Mr. James Chaney was a civil rights activist, one of many, who registered people to vote and other things, and he was going to investigate a church burning called Mount Zion. He was arrested, denied a phone call, released from jail, followed by the sheriff, and killed by the KKK. I think it was like 44 days they were missing. The station wagon they were in was burnt. And after $25,000 in rewards, they were able to find the three workers and the car. And here you have Mr. James Earl Chaney, everybody. I'm signing out. This has been Fourth Person Point of View. God bless this man.